Yeah,
All right.
there you go, man.
There you go.
So I heard that you are now like, how does this working out? You're now like focused on going after this niche in the garage space.
Well, we'll just jump right in. Yeah. So Attachment Point News Roundtable, welcome back. Excited to have you on here, John, with TrustLayer. Where this is relevant today, startups, right? It's a world of pivots. It's a world of everything else. We've been mining after the auto space a little bit. And I think there will still be marketing towards that. But I decided to chase down some contractors, maybe learn trucking from a friend, things where you can proactively go get business every day. Because the hard thing about X dates and moving policies is you have to wait for them to come up and hope you can talk to somebody out of a relationship where they've, someone's been bringing them sandwiches for 20 years and it's, incredibly hard to beat people who've been feeding people carbs. I'm not sure how that works. But yeah, TrustLayer, man, I was excited to watch you guys take off for 2018. That's a good little rocket. For just closing a nice seed round, I feel like your product seems further along than seed. So congratulations on the success and welcome to the Insurance Nerds.
Yeah, Brett, it means a lot. I'm very excited to be here.
Cool, very cool. Yeah, so for background, John, maybe you can mention what TrustLayer is up to, what you guys do, maybe how you got your eye on the space,
Yeah, so TrustLayer, we've built a platform that helps automate the tracking of like all of like the admin and crap that like people have to deal with when, especially like the beginning of that relationship. It might be like identity information. It might be like some sort of credential. Like, are the guys that are working on my garage right now, are they actually licensed in this county? And then it turns out like people also have to track and validate insurance information. And like the process just stinks. It's super paper-based, it's very manual. And so we built a platform that automates that process using what's called robotic process automation and some fancy AI and some NLP, natural language processing tools. Really just like automate that very like manual paper-based workflow. And but instead of screwing around and like pushing hundreds of millions of pieces of paper around, wouldn't it be great if you could just validate this in a more real-time way? Remember when you connect your bank account to Venmo now? It's totally different than like 15 years ago when you did it with PayPal, where you had to put your like account number and your routing number. And then you had to wait a couple of days to like have the 2 small micro deposits hit your bank account, and you had to go back.
The 7 cents.
I mean, it's just like very, very manual. And it only said like you had access to that bank account at that exact moment. It didn't know whether you canceled the bank account or whatever. So today, the insurance world is very efficient. It is very similar to that, super inefficient. And so imagine you were that plumber getting access to a job site and you could validate it in more real time. And also I could have confidence that the information is actually authentic. If I've got like 100 tenants in my building, I could actually have confidence that those folks have insurance. And if they don't, then maybe provide them like some sort of coverage in the meantime until they get their own coverage. And so anyway, that's the big play for us. We're working with a bunch of larger carriers, and we have a number of the larger brokers have joined us now, and cool. we're pretty excited about it. Again, it's still early days, but pretty excited.
You're in the right track. I think you guys went through BTV, and then I've got buddies who work with contractors who basically can't go on vacation. They're just bogged down by certs and requests all the time. And,
I mean, out of all of the things, like, how is that still a thing in this society?
2020,
right? I mean, it's just it's bananas. That's so we want to help with that. Actually, we just launched our Procore integration a couple days ago, and so the construction space is a really great space for us. And now, granted, like large companies had this like these complex ERP systems, and they've had those for a long time. But like the little guy had kind of legacy tools that weren't that great. And so now any broker that has a handful of construction customers, or like franchising, or like really anyone who has to deal with a bunch of vendors, and especially like any brokers that are really excited about expanding their customer base, which is, I mean, heck, who isn't, right? This is a way for them to build a really sticky relationship with their customer. And now they can also provide like a better service to their customer, but they also get a whole bunch of leads. And so I think that's why the insurance brokers are really excited about partnering with us.
Well, what's cool about that too is so I'm 36. I spent 6 years around a commercial moving company, super random, but I grew up around it. And we would just have these like folders and folders and folders of insurance certificates, how to send out the request to van liner our broker, had to send it to the building, had to go in.
Yeah, ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of us, I don't know, did you ever live in like the high rise when you were in your 20s, right? I spent 2 years in New York.
Okay, cool.
And you would have this like moving day, and you'd get the elevator, the freight elevator, which is
right,
really
you reserve.
So you get the freight elevator for like 2 hours or 3 hours a day, and it was like there was like all of this organization, and you had to get these documents. You had to validate that these guys actually were bonded and actually had coverage in order to like let them move in. I had one situation where like that did not happen correctly, and it was a surprisingly stressful experience that I still remember.
Well, to their point though, like weird things happen. So part of why, I seem so positive around insurance is I'm not managing moving crews anymore, and nothing against the guys. Majority of the guys were awesome and really appreciate having the work. But there was times when like a moving truck hit like a water line at the bottom of a building and just flooded the whole basement. Like there's a reason.
It makes sense why these property management firms want this. I mean, because we someone that was moving had access to the freight elevator may have caused a giant gash in that freight elevator.
And then there's people carving things in elevator doors. That wasn't great. There was also like
I never had that problem, but that seems like that would be ridiculous.
Yeah, no, it's there's a reason why they want insurance in place.
So that's what we've done. We've built this like really slick tool, super easy to use, and we partner with a bunch of brokers now. So any broker can like give us a call and like we'll partner. If they want, they can upcharge for the service. Cool. A handful, I'd say like half the brokers that work with us, they actually charge their customers for the additional service. The other ones don't. They just pass it along and just provide this. And the broker can be involved or not be involved. It's totally up to them. But often the brokers like to be involved so they can have that closer relationship and most importantly, get those leads back.
You're selling me on it. You're selling me right now. Yeah. But no, it's funny. Even as an agent, you kind of go through these different pivots. So when I first went out on my own, I was going after like cannabis insurance and cyber insurance because they were growing, but nobody knew how to like sell those policies yet. And I felt like when I was calling on cyber, I was just getting people to call their incumbent broker. And then 2 years ago,
that's a great idea. I'm going to call this guy.
No, let me call you. I already sells me insurance. I'll get a little bit more. Let's talk. And then I was selling startups, and my buddy Ed was going after the auto space. But startups are funky to insure. Everything's different. The needs are different.
Oh, totally.
Premiums can be nothing. So I doubled down with him on auto a little bit. And then my like latest iteration is I have a couple of friends that say, hey, I can tell you where leads are every day. Why don't you go work on these blue collar things that have data that you can track? So that's the next kind of pivot to be able to be a little more proactive.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think everyone when they first get into the insurance world, especially if they come from like the tech world, they go through this evolution where if they don't know anything about insurance and they look at this and they say, oh, there's all this tech, like the broker, like their days are numbered. They're going to be disintermediated in a couple years. Like, absolutely not. This stuff is so freaking complicated that even when you're like a smaller company like us, we've only got, we've been around for 2 years and
done a lot in 2 years, though, it looks like.
We have like cyber coverage. You have commercial general. Now we have people traveling to conferences. So like, do we have an auto policy? We have workers' comp. We have a D&O insurance. We like do work for people. We have tech, regular E&O. It's like, and it all gets blended together. It's really complicated. So that's why
don't sleep on the EPLI.
All the above. So like now we need to make sure that like we actually have someone who understands all of this, and that's why the broker's role today is even more important than it's never been as important as it is now.
Like balancing act is you don't want to spend yourself into bankruptcy either. When I look at it, it's a lot easier for me to make sense on like personal lines for me to talk about like assets and liabilities and to try to bridge it somewhat. Obviously, if you're renting an apartment, got a paid off car, you don't need $10 million of protection. On the flip side, if you have multiple homes, whatever else, like get that damn umbrella,
absolutely.
Try to like keep it kind of leveled and to grow with. That was really cool when you mentioned that TrustLayer can be like a profit center, not just a cost center for agents too. That's very rare.
Brokers are not our customers.
Cool.
We don't want to. It's totally free to use TrustLayer for a broker. Cool. Yeah, it's totally free. We want to partner with brokers, and in fact, that's why I think so many invested in us because like they're not our customer. We want to help them make more money and like build a closer relationship with their customer.
That's cool. I didn't realize that. Yeah, I've got to jump in more. I know you guys are doing a lot of work and making noise in space. This is basically just a sales call right now. We're just gonna.
It's not supposed to be, man.
So salesman.
Yeah. So I'm always pushing, right?
Or you should. No, I think CEO, man.
I misspoke. I said we started TrustLayer 2 years ago. I guess it's
18,
almost 3
right?
years ago.
Yeah, but that's still quick for 6 million
and
funding.
And so now we're we've hit that like kind of fun part of the growth trajectory. We're like, you've got enough resources to come in. This is obviously a great time to be with like an earlier stage startup, especially one that's found like some product market fit.
Dude, in our industry too right now, it's just bubbling.
Yeah, it does. It definitely is a great time to be an entrepreneur right now,
I think it was cool because I came on board full time maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and I've been around a data visualization startup like mid 2010s. So
did you work at InsurTech before joining the brokerage?
So I worked at an old school brokerage. I had a lot of B2B sales experience, and I had like little touches of startup experience here and there. And then lost a sales job like 3 years ago, decided to start bartending more and start my own brokerage. And that let me help, Fineo come to the States, get them licensed everywhere, got me licensed everywhere. And I've just been kind of playing independent, touched different startups since then, helped Juniper Labs, they got acquired by Next. Have some buddies that I support that like I kind of have a part over some skin in the game, and have others I just like ClearCover, been a fan of those guys for a long time. A client, and have some buddies who use them as well. It's just
that's Kyle's company, right?
Yeah. Nakasugi.
Yeah, that guy's awesome.
Really hard on not messing up his last name. He comes up in like every other pod. Now what I like about Kyle is he's been helping out like other peers too. Sigo, Loop. He was actually really helpful. Yeah. Really helpful to me as well. We joined something called Creative Destruction Labs. Oh, cool!
A little while ago. Yeah. It's out of Toronto. So it's originally out of Toronto. I forget the. I forget the guy. It's one of the best AI books I've read in a long time. But I'm blanking on the founder's name. So I think it's called Prediction Machines.
Okay.
Anyway. So they created this. It's primarily, I think Chisel also went through it like a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. And so now CDL has expanded, and they created a risk-focused one, and Kyle got involved in that, and nice. It was awesome.
Yeah, I'll check those out. I'll try to get those to the show notes too. Yeah, Toronto is like a leader in AI, leader in like computer science. I feel very fortunate to have connected with those guys and helped Fineo come to the States, and it's been really fun making some noise this year.
That's great. Yeah, there was another group we were fortunate enough to get tied into, which was called Broker Tech Ventures.
Oh yeah, I thought you went through BTV. We mentioned already connect all the great brokers. I was like, of course.
Yeah. BTV. It is. I can't speak highly more. I mean, these guys are awesome. Collins Murphy and the M3 crew got together a couple years back and like decided to set this up, and it was. When you're early stage, there's all these accelerators that are popping up here and there. And these guys have more buy-in from more senior people than I've seen with almost any group that we've been involved. Insurance or unrelated to insurance, just other accelerators that friends of mine had gone through.
I know the Heffernan folks, and I'm lucky to be able to grab their attention every so often, work through their Ollie program for a little bit. Those are some serious cats. They don't give their time to kind of willy-nilly projects. Like if they're working on something, it's got to have some meat. And I've seen those guys light up at what's going on at BTV or like the startup community. It's fun. It's cliche to point out at this point, but it's nice that there's no longer that like InsurTech, insurance, like disrupt. Everyone's working together now. Everyone's bought in. They're not really fearful of the other side. I think people just realize, we're going to have to do more with less, and, tech's extending our reach, It's pretty cool. I think it's an exciting time for sure.
I think in general, I think you see this in other enterprises where you have ERP, like the traditional ERP systems that have been, like you have SaaS that is like permeated within even big companies. And so now to really compete, people see the value of having a marketplace and actually being open, right? Apple, like my iPhone is way more valuable because there's, hundreds of thousands of developers that are creating awesome applications for it. And the same thing for like whatever ERP systems are being used by like these big carriers or brokers now. And so companies like TrustLayer, if by plugging in, it just adds more value to like their system. So I think there's just been this switch, especially within the insurance world, but even in other industries as well.
So kind of funny that the last job I had, there was this kind of like bloated offering that I came in, they want to charge a lot for. And they had a librarian that would call in. I was like, hey, we got to put that online. Like, we got to do this. We should strip this down and then upsell. And it was funny. The guy who was a librarian was one of the biggest advocates for the change that I was pushing, but the whole org didn't want to change. I think it's funny too, when you talk about those older systems, older setups for records, whatever else, there's a mistake that the person who's always done that one thing wants to keep doing that one thing. Usually they're more aware of like the problem than anything else. And they'd love to get freed up to like a higher level.
They would rather not like push paper all day long or like answer stupid questions that like could be like, let me tell you how to like reset your password.
And I hate to say it, but the person who wants to sit in the back of the org and not do anything, like, you need to wake up and you need to like change and push and grow. It's not easy for everybody. I definitely want people to have like good, comfortable careers, but I think majority of the people that like this disruption is going to come to are going to welcome the change from breaking up the mundane.
Where were you working that had a librarian?
I don't want to talk too much smack. I've kind of wiped that little spin off the record. Yeah. I believe in speaking well with friends, and it was an experience that got me here. It's all part of the journey. So I was looking at your kind of resume a little bit on LinkedIn. The White House. You don't really see the White House on too many people's.
I was like the most junior level person that you could possibly be.
It was pretty cool though.
But it was awesome. Yeah, it was incredible.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It was super fun, like super fun. It was I met like tons of great friends there, and it was a great experience. But then after that, I got a chance to work overseas, and which was really a lot of fun, which actually kind of opened the doors for TrustLayer, where I had a chance to work in emerging markets.
Oh, nice.
And I would see for like all of the pain that we have with like pushing paper, you can just imagine in these emerging markets, it's even worse.
I didn't even think about that.
And as a result, like it's very difficult for a lot of times for people to actually do business in those markets, because unless the deal is big enough, you don't know exactly who you're working with, or you've got like issues that friction that like just prevents you from doing a transaction.
They wish they had our Cobalt servers.
Yeah, right. But at the same time, we have, if you can focus on, at the time I didn't quite realize what TrustLayer was going to be. And to be clear, our focus is in the US today. But that pain point of like getting rid of that friction in these other markets, it's not just that it like helps save time. It's that it could fundamentally open new opportunities or like new economies that previously were just unavailable. Imagine like West Africa, probably certainly one of the fastest growing, maybe the fastest growing economy in the world. What are the odds you're going to do an investment in Nigeria right now? Right? Like very low, because there's just so many challenges of being able to like, is that building that is in a great location, is it actually insured? Do you know who actually owns it? Right? But like, if you could actually have confidence that that building's like actually insured by AIG or some like fancy carrier, and not like you have like confidence that like the information is coming directly from the carrier, like that opens up potentially completely new investment opportunities. And by like helping build trust. And so that's what, again, our focus right now, we're a small company, so we're just laser focused on the US right now. But it's really neat what we can do if we think about like the next level of kind of automating some of this stuff.
I think you gotta think that way. Intelligent data, risk mitigation. Right now, I've heard that like 5 or 6 billion people in the world have internet, but it's like the internet we grew up with. It's not broadband. It's not high speed. As things kind of pick up, it's going to get interesting. Although
I just had like a great 2 weeks, or not 2 weeks. We just took our first vacation in like a year and a half, right? And I went to Montana.
Oh, nice.
My wife and I, 10 years ago, my wife and I were in the middle of Serengeti, like in a tent. And we had 5 bars of internet.
Oh, geez.
I spent like I had no idea that Montana doesn't have internet. For like
on purpose.
And maybe that's part of the draw, right? But it was kind of tough to. It was a big change from where we were to like actually taking the first trip, and it was sorely needed. So anyway.
No, it's
Yeah.
good. I went to Hawaii with my wife, April. It's 2021 right now.
Look at you, super spreader.
It was
Like-
nice. Yeah, no, it was nice. We had our backs. Just ate our sandwich real quick on the plane. But yeah, actually getting away, relaxing for the first time in a couple of years was it was helpful. I was joking, the jokes were a little bit better afterwards, a little more loose, No, that's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm excited. I don't know. It's an exciting time to be in our space. To your point about working in another country, a little bit tangential, but Shoe Dog by Phil Knight was an awesome book. Just listen to it. And
oh, it's a great book. Yeah.
Well, always that guy on the ground, that 1 point person over there that knows the factories, that knows the system, that knows the locals. I feel lucky to be that guy right now, Fineo, but right now we're very human based, but if we get database later, it's gonna make that much easier to kind of go overseas, whatever else, do investment, risk management, but
yeah, or like other products that could be brought there, right? I mean, so in the insurance products, I mean, again, our focus is US, but like it's if you just think about the amount of transactions that we don't do because there's too much like friction at the beginning of that relationship, it's mind-boggling, right? Where if you
bloated cost,
I mean, that's the exciting part. Pardon me?
The bloated cost because you don't have the details. I know people can win just off of getting like granular as opposed to like large and spatial, in the way that they underwrite, we have some cool competitive advantages right now. Just the more data you can scoop up, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, I actually hadn't read that Shoe Dog in like I don't know, maybe 5-6 years. That was a pretty solid book.
Let me pick that back up. Yeah, it's fun too. It's fun to think of like something as monolithic as Nike is almost like busting more than a handful of times along the road. It kind of humanizes the startup journey.
Yeah, everything looks easy in retrospect, but like. Yeah,
that's why I joked with Kyle Clearcover when he was on. They'd raised something like 240 million. I was like, everything's been perfect since the last time we recorded, right? Everything went just as according to plan. Everything was a straight line, up and to the right, scaled exactly how you drew it up, right? Just couldn't help but laugh.
What have you read recently that's good?
What I just finished. I was actually feeling a little beat up, so I listened to Matthew McConaughey's book again, the Green Lights book. It's just
is that good?
It's cheesy. It's nice. I needed it. I needed a little.
By the way, I heard he's running for governor.
Okay, I'm not surprised.
I think he's exploring that.
No, but I always go back and forth between basically startup stuff and goofy sports podcasts, and then I'll pick up different books strategically as I go. There was one recently that was like The Psychology of Money. That was really helpful. It was kind of fun to think about. Yeah, I look at it like like you're kind of painting a picture. Just kind of add what you need. I actually I kind of joke. I don't even pay attention to our space that much. I mean, I do, but I don't. I feel like it's much easier.
I don't know what you're talking about. I literally see your name everywhere.
Yeah, just creating the content. Not really.
You're doing something right.
Oh, we're trying, man. No, it's fun. It's a hard game. It's fun to cheerlead people along. You don't want to like necessarily put everybody out there, but if you see people who think are playing it right, like why not support and push?
Yeah. Well, I certainly appreciate it. Yeah, it's been. I mean, I see your name everywhere. So I'm glad we had a chance to sync up.
Oh yeah, no, of course, dude. And I think the work you guys are doing is very meaningful. Having been a moving salesman, having worked construction. I worked construction for a year before my first full-time sales job.
What were you doing there?
Cable installation, smart screens, like schools, hospitals. My dad knew, the guy who owned the company, but just out there, ladders, pulling cables, plugging in TVs, all that kind of stuff. It was interesting. We're definitely like the little wusses of the construction site. I had like a little like fanny hip thing where everybody else is like carrying, it's a good experience. Just
carrying giant sandbags.
Yeah. But there were definitely times when I was in like a 6x6x6 vault, like pulling hundreds of cables, in like 100-degree weather in Riverside, it was interesting.
Well, that's awesome.
People wonder why I'm upbeat, man. I sold copiers in Irvine, knocked them door to door, 30 cards a day, 2 hours of cold calls in the morning, 2 hours of cold calls.
That seems like an industry that probably took a pretty big hit last year. I can't imagine the copier world. Yeah.
Although the thing about copiers, everyone needs them, everyone hates them, nobody knows what they should cost. So they're fine. They're just going to work their magic in the background. And
interesting.
Those guys
I really thought about that.
Yeah. It not to pick on everything, and I was around some phenomenal salesmen, but it's definitely goofy. I mean, there's definitely like corners to that industry that are strange.
I guess that you're right. Like even if people think it's ridiculous, you still need it in your office. So therefore,
and you don't know
You
what
better
it
be a
costs, you don't know
salesman.
what it should be,
Yeah.
you don't know whatever else, you know.
I'm gonna get like
So-
10 calls from like copier salespeople tomorrow.
Right. I'm just trying not to bash my old people that gave me a paycheck one time or another, but you know, it's all a journey. How did you come on TrustLayer? How was that like a need that you saw, or what was your experience that led you to that?
Well, honestly, part of the time was when I was overseas. I just saw that was like a pain point. I wasn't insurance focused, but like insurance was one of the issues. I mean, because we would see, even in like a personal capacity when I was living there, like buddies of mine would be like, "Oh, we're going to buy this apartment building."
Hawthorne
like,
Capital, or
yeah,
cool.
And they would say like, "Oh, there's this like this personal investment that we were going to make."
Yeah.
And it would say, "That's neat, but like, how on earth am I going to like go get involved in this like multifamily in some country where it's like I don't actually know." Like,
all due respect, not even make anything light, like Florida, that was tragic, you know, and we're so lucky that condo building's like an anomaly, and hopefully that wakes people up to do other infrastructure checks. But we're lucky.
That's a totally
that's an anomaly.
It would be great to have a TrustLayer that's just focused on like validating that construction like reviews. In San Francisco, there was like, I'm sure there's there's a handful of really big insurance carriers that are involved in like that building that's leaning.
Oh wow, the Salesforce Tower, right?
No. So Salesforce Tower is like some people were blaming that it was Salesforce Tower, but it wasn't the Salesforce Tower that was.
That's funny.
But there was another building that was like, and again, I don't think there's any risk compared to where like what we saw a couple weeks ago with what happened in Miami. But anyway, so the time overseas for me was like really meaningful, so I could like understand like that there was this much friction at the beginning of the relationships. But when we returned back to the US, of course, I thought everything's, you know, rosy and really easy here. And then I did some personal investing in real estate.
Oh, wow.
And this is back like when there was like, remember like when crowdfunding first kind of got, this is like 5-6 years ago, when like crowdfunding was like kind of the thing, especially in real estate. And I saw that a bunch of the projects, one, had like terrible underwriting associated with them. And they were like, "Oh, we gave money to this like fix and flip or like hard money. So like we gave money to this guy, but it turns out it was like a completely fly by night thing." And you're like, you know, that's ridiculous. And then two, I would see projects that got delayed in part because parties didn't have the right insurance. And then, you know, if a plumber gets delayed 2 days, what's the deal? Well, if the carpenter's coming tomorrow and you can't put the wall together because the guy didn't put pipes in the wall, and the carpenter can't come back for another week, and then that creates like 3 or 4 more delays. Actually, it's a very big deal because these projects are like, you know, really, you know, narrowly, sometimes they're like to be
the GCs now
scheduled.
They're basically just lining up contractors. They want to be as tight as possible. That could be huge, you know, just a couple of days off. I'm forgetting the name.
And so as a result, it would cause like, at least in my limited case, it ended up causing like thousands of dollars of delays for like carrying costs. And I was like, this is ridiculous that insurance is like causing this delay. And I was fortunate, a buddy of mine happened to be head of innovation over at AIG at the time.
Cool.
And he was, you know, kind of like, he's like, yeah, like this is not like a little pay point. This is like the whole $1 trillion industry is all run by paper. And if you can figure out ground, like track coverage, you can actually have ground truth for this really big industry. And then we can like kick off all sorts of other, you know, workflows from that. So if the guy, like the plumber, doesn't have the right coverage, or he wants to get access to the building and like he doesn't have the right coverage, we could like throw that to like a Talage or like a Coterie or, you know, I'm sure, and a few other ones. So there's like all sorts of other really neat workflows that we can launch after we can validate, does someone actually have coverage and is it sufficient?
I like it. And those are 2 buddies. Like there's a lot of good people doing cool work around.
Those guys are great.
A lot of similar companies, but those guys are fun guys. It's huge stuff. You know, so after the moves, my dad ended up doing project management for CBRE, you know, just major relocations and like, I ended up hopping over to the insurance industry, but you're right, man. It's just, you know, just slows things down. And really people just want to get to work, do work, get things done, go home. You know, that plumber doesn't want to.
It's insurance, right? I mean, people, I know like some of us are really into it, but like most people genuinely don't want to think about it.
It's a lineman job. When you're doing it right, nobody knows you're doing it. You know, they just know.
Absolutely. That's a great way. That's a great way of thinking about it.
And
and so that's kind of like what we're focused on. We're like, if you can just kind of automate this and remove some of the headache, you can almost not think about it as much.
Yeah, no, you want to keep it rolling. I would say insurance is just keeping the wheels turning. It's just a little bit of fee for making sure things are consistent here. And yeah, I've traveled to other countries too. We are blessed. I think we realize how fortunate we are that there's rules and laws and the game keeps rolling. It's a
Right.
fairly straightforward one around here.
Yeah.
But,
one thing I heard you say before, which I like, is like when people start talking about claims as well, like focusing on that, because after all, like that's why people are
right.
getting coverage, right?
That's where we really earn our keep, is being there for the clients kind of in that time of need.
And a lot of times people forget about that too.
Yeah.
Where it's like that's actually the reason why brokers and carriers are in this business. It's like help people when they're having their bad days.
Oh, 100%. I can't speak for everybody, but the claims people I do know like are trying to pay claims. The only 2 cents I'll say, and I won't name names, but kind of get what you pay for to a degree. And sometimes if you go strictly like cost oriented, it can kind of come back and bite you. Those companies will definitely make sure you got your T's and your I's dotted, but some of your other names that kind of value that, put their name on their reputation, like they'll try to pay a claim. They might work around a little more. So just that's my only 2 cents to the consumers out there. And I'm sure there's good agents, good claims people, bad claims people, bad agents for every broker,
Yeah, of course.
Something to keep in mind. But no, I appreciate the time today, and it's always fun to track these companies. I'm looking forward to 2 years, like you guys 10xing again, and reporting on.
That's the plan, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Why not? Yeah.
Just piece of cake, right?
Exactly, straight line, like we're talking about with Kyle. Set it and forget
Hockey
it.
stick.
Yeah, it's the Bronco rotisserie. But
well, Brett, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. Again, big fan of podcasts, and
thank you.
What you're doing here, I see your name everywhere, so you're doing something right.
I appreciate it, man. We'll keep having some commentary. We'll talk soon. Thanks, guys.
Great, man. I'll talk to you.